Good morning, everybody. How are you? We are live from Los Angeles. Welcome to the Zero Dark Tony channel. So we are live in the middle of what could be the most dangerous conflict of our generation. Now, the war with Iran has exploded. U.S. and Israeli forces are striking targets across the country. At the very same reports, the Ayatollah is deceased. He is no more. Iran's Supreme Leader gone right as missiles are flying and militaries are on hair trigger alert. Now, this raises three major questions. Good morning, everybody. Hit the like button. Welcome. Who is actually in charge of Iran right now? How will a leader, that's one. The next one is, how will a leaderless regime respond to foreign strikes? And are we watching a regional war that can still be contained, or is the opening chapter for something much bigger? We certainly hope not, but we're going to break down what's happening on the ground, what this leadership vacuum means, how Israel, the U.S., and Iran's allies are positioning themselves, and what to watch in the next few hours that will tell us if this stabilizes or spins completely out of control. So hit subscribe, smash like on this stream so it gets pushed while we're out live. And tell me in the chat, do you think this war is going to stay regional or spiral into something much bigger? President Donald Trump says a big wave is ready to come, so let's hear about that. Good morning, everybody.
After Beirut's southern suburbs at this point, after Iran-backed Hezbollah launched strikes on Israel from Lebanon. Iran, and its proxies are expanding the fight to other parts of the Middle East, as well as regions that have oil infrastructure. U.S. CENTCOM says Kuwait's air defense system accidentally shot down 3 U.S. F-15 fighter jets after Iran attacked that country. Now, remember, I've been reporting Iran is hitting its neighbors, and it's not clear why, because some of them are more than neutral. Some of these countries are friendly with Iran, and they have taken out hotels coming close to the Burj, which is one of the world's tallest buildings. They're building a taller one in Dubai now. I mean, taking out a hotel, or at least trying to. So those type of civilian targets. All 6 crew members in our F-15s in Kuwait are safe, injured, but in stable condition. Well, that's fire and smoke billowed from the vicinity of the U.S. Embassy compound in Kuwait after an Iran missile struck there. The U.S. Embassy is urging Americans to stay away and shelter in place in the aftermath. So far, there are no reports of injuries or deaths, thankfully. Tanker traffic in the vital Strait of Hormuz is down significantly, with satellite navigation systems disrupted, and there are reports of attacks on several ships in the area. A bomb-carrying drone boat reportedly hit an oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman, killing 1 mariner. All of this sending oil prices surging around the globe. And this as we get a closer look at the force behind Operation Epic Fury. CENTCOM is confirming more than 1,000 targets have been hit so far, including Iran command centers and missile sites. U.S. assets deployed include B-2s, drones, fighter jets, and missile systems, and more. And on the Israeli side, their operation has dismantled 600 terrorist sites using 2,500 munitions and destroying 150 surface-to-surface missiles. More than 100,000 reservists have been mobilized in the effort. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yinks is with me from Israel in Tel Aviv. Trey.
Harris, I do want to start with some breaking news. We've learned from Qatar's defense ministry the country shot down 2 Iranian jets that entered their airspace. We know that they've been receiving attacks from the Iranians, and they have been taking action not only now to shoot down jets, but also incoming ballistic missiles. The Qataris have also ceased production of liquefied natural gas in their country for the first time in 30 years over these attacks. This comes as the war is expanding overnight. The Iranian Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah launching rockets into northern Israel. The Israelis responded with airstrikes against Beirut. You can see this smoke billowing from the Dahya neighborhood of southern Beirut. As this is taking place, we know the Lebanese prime minister is calling on Hezbollah to stop the fire. But so far, the Israelis say they have to keep the pressure up on this Iran-backed organization to discourage other proxies from joining into the fight. Throughout the day across Israel, Iranian ballistic missiles have soared through the skies of this country. We watched as some of them were intercepted in the skies above. One missile, though, slamming into the southern city of Beersheba, where officials say at least 10 Israelis were wounded and taken to local hospitals. Israel's prime minister speaking today from one missile impact site, warning the Iranians if they continue this fire, they'll get hit hard in the capital of Tehran. And Harris, again, we do expect the coordination to continue at the highest level between the Israelis and the Americans. But with these Gulf countries taking direct fire from the Iranian regime, this conflict is expanding. Harris?
Yeah, I wrote down what you said from the Qataris and the natural gas. Talk to me a little bit more about that if you can. I mean, Iran obviously has been getting some critical infrastructure type items from these countries that now it's firing upon almost indiscriminately. It makes no sense.
Greetings, everyone. Come on in. Hit that like button for me.
Absolutely. And it is a significant threat, not just to these Gulf countries, but also to U.S. investments in the Gulf. We have seen the Iranians systematically trying to target energy infrastructure, not just in Qatar, but also in Saudi Arabia and in Kuwait. Gulf countries like the United Arab Emirates also taking direct fire. You saw those images of a drone slamming into the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so this is a conflict that is expanding, but it also has a lot of different aspects to it. The Iranians, while they're firing these medium-range ballistic missiles at Israel, they're using some of the shorter-range missiles to target Gulf countries, along with cruise missiles and drones. But the fact that they sent these Su-24 tactical bombers to try and hit Qatar is a significant escalation. And again, we can report at this hour that according to Qatar's defense ministry, both of these jets were shot down.
Why don't they just
And when you
keep them on the
talk
ground
about, you know,
first?
those areas in Dubai, like the Burj, I mean, it's actually in a shopping mall. I've been there. I mean, that's an epicenter of where people go. And you do have Americans, but we've been warned not to go to those places right now. I don't know what it's like on the ground for the citizens in the UAE right now, having that come from a place that you wouldn't anticipate it would be coming from in Iran. Wonder if it's not just a desperate attempt. Talk to me about the people on the ground in Israel. You know, this could be a while. We're hearing maybe 6 weeks, maybe more. We're about to hear from the President of the United States. He may give us an indication of where they are in this conflict right now. Any talk of sending more U.S. troops, that sort of thing coming from him. That may give us an idea. But what are the people you're talking with saying?
Yeah, Harris, most of the Israeli population has spent the last 60 hours in bomb shelters, but they are very supportive of this operation against the Islamic Republic of Iran. They understand the threats firsthand. Missiles have soared through the skies of this country.
I mean, does Khamenei's reported death during active strikes make war more likely to spiral, or does it create pressure on all sides to slow down? I mean, these are some of the questions that you need to look at when you're talking about these kind of conflicts with this cultish leader.
Not just over the past 2 days, but for years. Iranian proxies have threatened the Israeli people and also U.S. forces across the region. They watched as these negotiations were unfolding, first in Oman and then in Switzerland, and they saw President Trump offer an olive branch to the Iranians. He gave them a diplomatic off-ramp, and they didn't take it. And that's what the Israeli people continue to say when you talk to them. They say, look, there's no other option to create stability in our part of the world. They understand the president was able to get a ceasefire deal together between Israel and Hamas inside Gaza, something many regional countries didn't believe was possible. He took the momentum after that to create the Board of Peace in an effort to create more stability across the region. But both Israeli officials and American officials agree it was Iran's Supreme Leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, and the regime in Tehran that was the last major roadblock to President Trump's vision of peace across the region. And
So let's take a look at some of President Trump's comments here. You can see some of the smoke billowing up out of cities all over the Middle East because of this conflict. It is really starting to get crazy. And again, we're going to look at who some of the possibilities are for the takeover for Khamenei. So let's take a look at some of President Trump's comments from earlier today.
Launched Operation Epic Fury one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. The United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good.
Let me hear from you guys in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you support Trump. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not. I welcome everybody's opinions here. You are certainly all welcome to drop your opinions in the chat. Just be respectful to other chatters and to your host here. So put a 1 in the chat if you support Trump. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not. Thank you so much.
Want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America" or "Death to Israel" or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, and police to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you to our incredible warriors, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
All right, that was President Trump. We're going to go right now over to the Pentagon from earlier this morning with the War Director, Pete Hegseth, and one of the chiefs, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So we're going to listen to this pretty closely.
Leadership and troops, as you would expect, doing a fantastic job. 2 days ago, under the direction and direct orders of President Donald J. Trump, the Department of War launched Operation Epic Fury, the most lethal, most complex, and most precise aerial operation in history. For 47 long years, the expansionist and Islamist regime in Tehran has waged a savage, one-sided war against America. They didn't always declare it openly, except for their constant chants of death to America. They did it through the blood of our people. Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan, funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carry the names of brothers who never came home.
And when you see Pete Hegseth and when you see the Department of War, what I'd like to know from you guys is if you think the U.S. should be directly involved in striking Iran, or should Washington be pushing for some de-escalation here? Okay. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the chat.
By Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult. It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
Whoa.
President Trump has also been very consistent. Crazy regimes like Iran, hell-bent on prophetic Islamist delusions, cannot have nuclear weapons. It's common sense. Many have said it, but it takes guts to actually enforce it, and our president has guts. Iran's stubborn and self-evident nuclear pursuits, their targeting of global shipping lanes, and their swelling arsenal of ballistic missiles and killer drones are no longer tolerable risks. Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Let me say that again. A conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Our bases, our people, our allies, all in their crosshairs. Iran had a conventional gun to our head as they tried to lie their way to a nuclear bomb. It almost worked under Obama and his terrible deal, but not under this president. Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it. Today, in their desperation, the enemy is unmasked as Iranian missiles and drones rain down indiscriminately on the hotels, airports, apartments, and other civilian targets of their neighbors. Cowardly terrorist tactics from a regime
Thank you, Janda, for
that
the
for
10
decades
jewels.
has trafficked in cowardly terrorist tactics, lies, death, and destruction to this day. The Iranian leadership has built nothing except proxies and missiles and drones and deeply buried nuclear factories and facilities. Peaceful nuclear ambitions do not need to be buried underneath mountains. Last June, Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated their nuclear program to rubble. Afterward, we told them plainly, that's it, now make a deal. They arrogantly refused. We said, rebuild it, and we'll stop you again, this time far worse. Well, President Trump, Secretary Rubio, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, they bent over backwards for real
Crazy, thank you for
diplomacy,
the 10
offering
jewels. Appreciate
pathway
it.
after pathway
Like
to
and
peace.
subscribe, guys.
I watched it. I was there. They tried over and over and over again earnest attempts at peace. The former regime had every chance to make a peaceful and sensible deal. But Tehran was not negotiating. They were stalling, buying time to reload their missile stockpiles and restart their nuclear ambitions. Their goal, hold us hostage, threatening to strike our forces. Well, President Trump doesn't play those games. And as Secretary Rubio said after the Maduro raid, if you don't know, now you know.
Now you knows.
President Trump puts America and Americans first. He doesn't hesitate, and neither do our troops. The mission of Operation Epic Fury is laser focused. Destroy Iranian offensive missiles, destroy Iranian missile production, destroy their navy and other security infrastructure, and they will never have nuclear weapons. We're hitting them surgically, overwhelmingly, and unapologetically. With every passing day, our capabilities get stronger and Iran's get weaker. We set the terms of this war from start to finish. Our ambitions are not utopian. They are realistic, scoped to our interests and the defense of our people and our allies. Speaking of people, we hope the Iranian people take advantage of this incredible opportunity. President Trump has been clear, now is your time. To Iranian security forces, choose wisely. President Trump has also been clear about your fate in either direction.
Thank you for the jewels, Crazy K.
To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes.
So if Iran hits back directly at Israeli cities or U.S. bases, what level of response do you think is inevitable from Israel and the U.S.? What do you guys think is going to happen?
Israel has clear missions as well, for which we are grateful. Capable partners, as we've said since the beginning, capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force.
Pete coming in hot.
America, regardless of what so-called international institutions say, is unleashing the most lethal and precise air power campaign in history. B-2s, fighters, drones, missiles, and of course, classified effects. All on our terms. With maximum authorities. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars. We fight to win, and we don't waste time or lives. As the president warned, an effort of this scope will include casualties. War is hell, and always will be. A grateful nation honors the 4 Americans we have lost thus far and those injured. The absolute best of America. May we prosecute the remainder of this operation in a manner that honors them. No apologies, no hesitation, epic fury for them and the thousands of Americans before them.
America.
Taken too soon by Iranian radicals. Before I turn it over to General Kane for the operational update, let me speak straight to you, the Joint Force, our warriors on the front lines. This is your moment. This is the generational turning point America has waited for since 1979, and since the rudderless wars of hubris.
Yes, the Moab.
My generation, our generation, endured.
Yes.
Don't listen to the noise. Just stay focused. Our commander-in-chief is steady at the wheel. We face a determined enemy, but you are better. But we must prove it every single day. History doesn't care if we're tired, if we're scared, or if the fight feels big. It demands warriors who rise anyway. Peace through strength, the warrior ethos, lethality, unity of purpose, those are not slogans. They're the beating heart of what it means to wear the uniform, that uniform. You think clearly under fire, you act decisively in chaos, you uphold the Constitution, and you uphold our country without hesitation. We are not defenders.
Come in, everyone, come in.
We are warriors.
Welcome.
Trained to kill the enemy and break their will. History is watching. Be the force you swore an oath to be: focused, disciplined, lethal, and unbreakable. We will finish this on America First conditions of President Trump's choosing.
On his mama.
Nobody else's, as it should be. And know this above all, President Trump and I have your back, always. Through fire,
thank you for being a member for 2 months.
Through
HG.
fake news, through everything. We unleash you because you are the best, most powerful, most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen. May Almighty God watch over you and his providential arms of protection extend over you. Godspeed, warriors, and keep going. General Kane, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. The purpose of my portion of the briefing today is to update you and the American people on the actions taken thus far.
This is General Dan Kane, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, otherwise known as Raising Kane. Hit the like button and subscribe, everybody.
The briefing will discuss
Welcome.
the preparation, the
How you
planning,
doing?
setting the force, the early operations, and how we're assessing the progress thus far. So let's get started. On Saturday, 28 February at 01:15 Eastern Standard Time, 9:45 a.m. local Tehran time, on the orders of the President of the United States, U.S. Central Command, under the command of United States Navy Admiral Brad Cooper, commenced Operation Epic Fury. As I said, I'm going to walk you through the initial phases of the operation. But first, I want to express my deep condolences and the condolences of the Joint Force to the Department of War personnel killed and wounded in actions thus far. As the Secretary said, they're heroes and represent the best of our nation has to offer. They're true examples of what selfless service means. Our deepest and heartfelt condolences are with their families, their friends, and their units. We grieve with you, and we will never forget you. Additionally, I stand here before you today grateful for each service member, planner, logistician, operator across our joint force, for our Department of War civilians, our intelligence community teammates, our interagency teammates who continue to stand in harm's way alongside us. I am proud of all of you as you take the fight to the enemy, and we are the best in the world at integrating, period. I want to extend my personal gratitude to the dedicated commanders and senior enlisted leaders and the enlisted members of the Joint Force who are fighting this fight across the CENTCOM AOR. In addition to Admiral Cooper and Fleet Master Chief Compton, I want to highlight a few today. U.S. Army Central Command Commander Lieutenant General Pat Frank, who, along with his team, are fighting the counter-missile and counter-drone fight. United States Navy Central Command Commander Vice Admiral Kurt Renshaw and his team, who are engaged with the Iranian Navy and projecting American naval combat power from the seas. and United States Air Force Central Command Commander Lieutenant General Derek France and his leadership team, who are crushing Iranian targets from the air. I want to highlight the support to the CENTCOM fight from other combatant commands who are directly involved with this effort, to include U.S. Spacecom, U.S. Cybercom, and U.S. UCOM. I also want to specifically call out United States Transportation Command and U.S. STRATCOM for their contributions to this fight. We cannot project American combat power at the time and place of our choosing without both. And finally, I want to express how deeply thankful I am for the continued service and sacrifice of the entire Joint Force and their families. Their unwavering commitment and dedication are the cornerstones of this effort. So let me start with a few details. First, to be clear, as the Secretary said, this is not a single overnight operation. The military objectives that CENTCOM and the Joint Force have been tasked with will take some time to achieve, and in some cases will be difficult and gritty work. We expect to take additional losses, and as always, we will work to minimize U.S. losses. But as the Secretary said, this is major combat operations. So let me talk about the preparation and the planning. On February 28th, the full strength of America's armed forces came together in a unified purpose against a capable and determined adversary. The United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, and our reserve components integrated across our combatant commands and began coordinated operations with the Israeli armed forces of an unprecedented scale. As the Secretary laid out, our military objectives are clear. Our mission is to protect and defend ourselves and, together with our regional partners, prevent Iran from the ability to project power outside of its borders and be ready for follow-on actions as appropriate. Across every domain, land, air, sea, cyber, the U.S. Joint Force delivered synchronized and layered effects designed to disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's ability to conduct and sustain combat operations. On the U.S. side, this marked the culmination of months and in some cases years of deliberate planning and refinement against this particular target set. From precision strikes against key military infrastructure to persistent intelligence and targeting integration to the close coordination of the components across vast distances, this operation again demonstrated America's reach, readiness, and professionalism, and that of our joint united force. It was historic not only in the operational scope, but in the level of joint integration displayed across every element of the joint force. And as I said earlier, this work is just beginning and will continue. So now to talk a little bit about setting the force and setting the theater.
So if you lived in Iran, Israel, or near a U.S. base in the region right now, I want to ask you guys a question. What would you be doing? Would you be evacuating, sheltering, or would you just go on with your everyday living? Okay. So again, if you were living near any of these conflict points, would you be evacuating, sheltering, or trying to live life as normal? Because I would be evacuating.
On the order of the Secretary of War over the last 30 days to reinforce deterrence and provide the president with credible options should action be required, the Joint Force began to systematically reposition assets and personnel across the region. These movements ensured that U.S. forces remained postured, protected, and ready to respond decisively for any emerging threat. This deployment included thousands of service members from all branches, hundreds of advanced fourth and fifth generation fighters, dozens of refueling tankers, the Lincoln and Ford Carrier Strike Group and their embarked air wings, sustained flow of munitions, fuel, supplies, all supported with command and control, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance network. And the flow of forces continues today. In fact, Admiral Cooper will receive additional forces even today. This rapid buildup of forces demonstrated the Joint Forces' ability to adapt and project power at the time and place of our nation's choosing. I want to highlight a couple specific cases for you. The Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, which many of you know was down in the Western Hemisphere, redeployed across the Atlantic to set the theater. The ship, her crew, their families, and the entire strike group took a deep breath, and as they always do, began planning to conduct combat operations. The integrated Reserve and National Guard forces have continued to demonstrate the value of America's reserve forces, including the Wisconsin Army National Guard operating in Kuwait and Iraq, and Air National Guard units from a variety of states to include Vermont and Virginia. In the case of the Vermont Air National Guard and the 158th Fighter Wing, they were mobilized for Operation Absolute Resolve and then were tasked to take their F-35As across the Atlantic instead of going home to be prepared to support this operation. The same is with our Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve Command tanker and mobility forces, who stepped right out of their civilian jobs to deploy and to protect the region. Lastly, I want to highlight the unsung heroes of warfare, our American logisticians and sustainment force, those who quietly work every day behind the scenes to project and sustain America's combat power. Our leaders from World War II were right when they said professionals do logistics. As regional tensions rose, the Joint Force elevated our force protection measures on the order of the Secretary and repositioned discreetly civilians and non-essential personnel designed to ensure the safety and security of our joint force. By the time operations began, only essential forces remained on our bases and in theater, all ready, capable to respond. So now let me move to H hour. At 3:38 p.m. on Friday, February 27th, the United States Central Command, through the Secretary of War, received the final go order from President Trump. The president directed, and I quote, "Operation Epic Fury is approved. No aborts. Good luck," close quote. In the region, every element of the joint force made their final preparations. Air defense batteries readied themselves, checking their systems to respond to Iranian attacks. Pilots and crews rehearsed their strike packages for the final time. Air crews began loading their final weapons, and 2 carrier strike groups began to move towards their launching points. Across the globe, our operations centers came alive in Tampa, Florida, here at the Pentagon, and of course forward in the Central Command AOR. As always, operational security was paramount as we sought to maintain and sustain the element of surprise. This operation was highly classified so that at H hour, the enemy would see one thing: speed, surprise, and violence of action. The first movers were U.S. Cybercom and U.S. Spacecom, layering non-kinetic effects, disrupting and degrading and blinding Iran's ability to see, communicate, and respond. At H hour, the beginning of major combat operations, 01:15 local Eastern Daylight Time, 9:45 local AM Tehran time, as dawn crept up across the Central Command AOR, the skies surged to life. More than 100 aircraft launched from land, sea, fighters, tankers, airborne early warning, electronic attack, bombers from the states, and unmanned platforms, forming a single synchronized wave. This was a daylight strike based on a trigger event conducted by the Israeli Defense Forces, enabled by the U.S. intelligence community. The first shooters
Help
at
me out with
sea
that
were
like button,
tomahawks
guys. Hit that like
unleashed
button
by
and
the United
subscribe to the
States
channel.
Navy.
We're almost
Closed
at
in on Iranian
30K
naval
subscribers,
forces
so we'd love
and
to have
began
you.
to conduct strikes across the southern flank in Iran. On the ground, forces fired precision standoff weapons, measured, deliberate, precise, and lethal. This was a massive, overwhelming attack across all domains of warfare, striking more than 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours. We are now roughly 57 hours into the operation. In the initial phase, CENTCOM's focus was systematic targeting of Iranian's command and control infrastructure, naval forces, ballistic missile sites, and intelligence infrastructure designed to daze and confuse them. Coordinated space and cyber operations effectively disrupted communications and sensor networks across the area of responsibility, leaving the adversary without the ability to see, coordinate, or respond effectively. The combined impact of these strikes, swift, precise, and overwhelming, has resulted in the establishment of local air superiority. This air superiority will not only enhance the protection of our forces, but also allow them to continue the work over Iran. Over the course of the last 2 days, the Joint Force has launched hundreds of missions from land and sea and delivered tens of thousands of pieces of ordnance. The effort continues to scale. This included American B-2 bombers, which again, similar to Midnight Hammer, flew a 37-hour round-trip sortie from the continental United States, dropping precision, penetrating munitions on Iranian underground facilities across the southern flank and slightly deeper. Additionally, Israel has separately executed hundreds of sorties against hundreds of targets. Beyond Air Force and Navy aircraft strike packages, coordinated salvos of precision standoff weapons from across the region have neutralized hundreds of pre-planned targets. As I mentioned earlier, in support of these kinetic operations, U.S. Cybercom and Spacecom have continuously layered effects to disrupt, disorient, and confuse the enemy. I will note that this operation had several combat firsts, which I'll allow at some point in the future Admiral Cooper to talk about since he owns the AOR. While we've prosecuted a relentless offensive campaign, our defense has been equally important. Across the theater, operations have remained steady and disciplined. Once again, our integrated air and missile defense network is performing exactly as it's intended. U.S. Patriot and THAAD batteries, along with ballistic missile defense-capable Navy destroyers, continue to coordinate and execute intercepts with precision and consistency. I wish that every American could hear the voice communications like I have as these joint operations centers remain calm, focused, and cool while executing under fire over and over again.
Yes, very true. The world is watching.
Collectively, these systems have intercepted hundreds of ballistic missiles targeting U.S. forces, our partners, and regional stability. The threat from one-way attack UAVs has remained persistent. Our systems have proven effective in countering these platforms, engaging targets rapidly. Each intercept represents hundreds of hours of training, readiness, and technology all coming together to work as designed. We will remain vigilant in the counter-UAV fight. And the defense of the region is not ours alone. As the threat grew, our partners surged in beside us. Air defense batteries in Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia joined the fight, proof positive that years of training, trust, and hard-earned integration pay off. I am aware of the loss of 3 U.S. Air Force F-15Es overnight in the region. I am grateful for the safety of the crews, and we know that this was not from hostile enemy fire. As this matter's under investigation, I'll not comment further on this. Let me close. Operations will remain active across the theater and across the globe. The U.S. forces are postured not only to maintain pressure, but to respond and adapt as required. Operation Epic Fury stands as a reminder of what the United States military uniquely delivers. The ability to project power on a global scale with speed, surprise, precision, and overwhelming force when and where our nation requires it. What we've demonstrated over the past several days reflects years of investment in readiness, joint integration, and professionalism of the Joint Force. As major combat operations continue across CENTCOM, we remain engaged globally. America's Joint Force retains the credibility, capacity, and flexibility to respond to any contingency anywhere in the world at any time. To
47
those
years.
who would test our resolve or threaten the United States, our allies, or our interests, understand clearly we can reach you, we can sustain the fight, and we can scale the fight, and we will prevail. To the American people, your joint force remains steady, frosty, calm, and focused.
Frosty.
Your service members are trained,
Stay frosty.
disciplined, and determined. We understand the risks of this mission.
Wow.
And the weight of the responsibility that we carry. We also recognize that our families also shoulder the burden at home. You are a part of this too. I am proud today, as I am every day, to stand as a member of America's joint force. There is no mission too complex, no distance too great, and no adversary too determined for the men and women who wear our nation's uniform. We mourn our fallen, we honor their families, and we continue our mission with focus, unity, and strength. And now I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right here. Go ahead.
Now, before we get to these questions, how much of this war, you guys, this is a question for the chat, so you can participate here. I'd love to hear your opinions, no matter what side you're on. You're welcome here. How much of this war do you think is actually driven by genuine security concerns, and how much by domestic politics and leaders who need to appear strong in the face of these various threats?
Thank you for your time. What percentage of Iranian long-strike capabilities are still in the fight, and what is our exit strategy here, and when will it be deployed?
Well, they have long-range strike capabilities, which we are hyper-focused on. The brief we got just this morning, Admiral Cooper knows exactly and precisely what kind of threat matrix he's looking at, the way they might change their techniques and how we adapt to that.
Let it cook, mods. Let it cook.
We're making sure the theater commander has absolutely everything he needs. I mean, one of the things the chairman mentioned is for months and months, even before we built up, we ensured that we had maximum defensive capabilities in theater to allow the president the decision space in the future.
Oh, let's get that screen back in here. Look at that face. Yeah.
Iranian capabilities. As far as time frame, I would never hang a time frame from our perspective. The commander-in-chief sets the op tempo and terms of this fight. As I said, it's on his terms, and we'll make sure that Admiral Cooper and his team have everything they need, not just to defend. I mean, the best defense is good offense. And so we're aggressively pushing into that airspace over that southern flank to ensure that we control it and we destroy anything that moves that would attempt to shoot us. Think of it as shooting the archer instead of the arrows. That's where we want to be. And we have the kind of exquisite intelligence to get over the top, find that and destroy it. It won't happen overnight. This is a big
I'm not afraid of a close-up.
With a lot of capabilities. That's part of the reason why it's such a threat to us. That's why I talk about conventional umbrella to blackmail nuclear ambitions. They were building up this conventional arsenal in order to ensure that no one...
Welcome, Glasgow. Speaking of Glasgow, let me know where in the world you folks are viewing from. I'd love to know. Thank you.
Would ever block them from their ability to get nuclear weapons. So we're very clear-eyed about the nature of this Iranian threat, and we're going to get after it. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the question. The only thing I'll add is that unlike an operation, a single operation like Midnight Hammer or Absolute Resolve, it'll take some time for us to conduct battle damage assessment, and the targeting cycle that CENTCOM will run will take those things into effect. Admiral Cooper will adjust his plan and fires accordingly to ensure that we're attriting that. He's focused on long-range strike capability coming out of the enemy, and that's a key and essential part of it.
Of the capabilities that still exist from the enemy front?
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say we're still doing BDA. Normally we'd be able to see a singular thing and we'd assess pretty quickly. He's doing offense and assessment simultaneously, so it'll take longer for us to assess than it would in a single operation.
Secretary Hegseth, thank you. Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. 2 questions for you. The president said yesterday in his video message that we will leave Iran when we complete all of our objectives. What are our objectives? And can you share more information on how the soldiers who were killed were killed?
Well, I laid out the objectives, as did the chairman. They're completely nested. I mean, Iran has an ability to project power against us and our allies in ways that we can't tolerate. So whether that's ballistic missiles and drones, so offensive capabilities, effectively their Navy, which would attempt to set other terms and impose different costs, drone capabilities, which we laid out there. And ultimately, though, this tying it back to Midnight Hammer, the president has been willing to make a deal. You can't have a nuclear bomb. Radical Islamists can't have a nuclear bomb that they wield against the world.
They cannot have
He gave them every single opportunity. Then we precisely took it away.
Let's get this straight here in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree that they should not have, that Iran should not have nuclear weapons. Put a 1 in the chat.
Even then, after that, they didn't have that. They didn't come to the table with a willingness to give it away. So ultimately, those nuclear ambitions, which never ceased, are something that had to be addressed as well. So that's a discrete sense of what's being addressed here to ensure that they can't use that conventional umbrella to continue a pursuit of nuclear ambitions. And then as it pertains to the U.S. casualties, that particular incident was, you have air defenses and the lot's coming in and you hit most of it. And we absolutely do. We have incredible air defenders. Every once in a while, you might have one, unfortunately, we call it a squirter that makes its way through. And in that particular case, it happened to hit a tactical operations center that was fortified, but these are powerful weapons. So we certainly will do, as I said, moments like that, as we remember them and we take care of them and take care of their families, only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we do this properly.
Thank you.
Yep. Right here.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. I had 2 questions for you. First, are there currently any American boots on the ground in Iran?
No, but we're not going to go into the exercise of what we will or will not do. I think it's one of those fallacies for a long time that this department or presidents or others should tell the American people this, and our enemies, by the way, here's exactly what we'll do. Here's exactly how long we'll go. Here's exactly how far we'll go. Here's what we're willing to do and not do. It's foolishness. And so President Trump ensures that our enemies understand we'll go as far as we need to go to advance American interests. But we're not dumb about it. You don't have to roll 200,000 people in there and stay for 20 years. We've proven that you can achieve objectives that advance American interests without being foolish about it. Now, will we be bold about it? Are we willing to be decisive about it? Do we put months and months of planning into what kind of effects we want to achieve? Absolutely.
You're welcome.
But going forward, why in the world would we tell you, the enemy, anybody, what we will or will not do in pursuit of an objective? We fight to win. We fight to achieve the objectives the President of the United States has laid out, and we will do so unapologetically. Thank you.
Is there any significance to Israel carrying out this strike to kill the Ayatollah? And I wanted to know, what was your immediate reaction to finding out about his killing?
I think Israel did a great job in the conduct of that operation.
President Trump put a 4-week timeline
right
on
here.
it. Are you
Please.
saying that's wrong?
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned during the briefing, General Kane, that there would be additional troops sent to the region. Could you say how many troops currently are involved in this operation and how many additional troops are planned to go in this next phase?
I don't want to talk specifics because that would tip the enemy off. We have more tactical aviation flowing into theater just based on the time it took to get it out there.
Yeah, they're not going to
I think we're just about where we want to be in terms of total combat capacity and total combat power for Admiral Cooper. One of the things, though, that a commander, he'll consistently assess the trajectory of the campaign. Is he on or off trajectory? And then make an ask of the joint force, which will then develop options for consideration by the Secretary and the President to either increase or in some cases decrease the amount of combat capability that we have over there.
I heard the question about 4 weeks. It's the typical NBC sort of gotcha type question. President Trump has all the latitude in the world to talk about how long it may or may not take. 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 6 weeks. It could move up. It could move back. We're going to execute at his command the objectives we've set out to achieve. And what he has shown an ability to do that other presidents can't quite seem to have the aperture to do, well, I mean, Joe Biden didn't even know what he was doing, is to look for opportunities and off-ramps and escalations for the United States that creates new opportunities to execute what we need on our own timeline. So you can play games about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. He has all the latitude, and I'm glad he does, because there's no better communicator than our president expressing those things.
Daily Mail.
I've been in meetings with the president for the last 2.5 days. We know exactly where his headspace is, and he will communicate as he should exactly what he would like, and we will follow those orders. And I think everything he said on that is right down the middle.
Chairman, did you
Absolutely.
have
Yes, right there. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Secretary. I left my hometown of Sakis in Iranian Kurdistan in 1996.
Wow.
Can you promise that I will be able to return home safely this year? And I have a following question too, please.
I appreciate the question. I'm not here to place guarantees on that, but I think the message the president has given has been clear to the people of Iran. This is your moment.
That's quite a question.
The world was seized by these crowds, and then seized by the reality of this regime killing tens of thousands of innocent protesters. So we saw the nature of the regime yet again exposed. We saw many of the Iranian people seek a change there. This is their moment to take advantage of it, for sure.
Secretary, you served in Iraq and know that no American soldiers were killed in Kurdistan. The Kurdish people are very pro-American. Will you continue protect Kurdistan and Peshmerga as loyal ally of the United States? Why I'm asking this question? Because now Kurdistan is under attack by Iranian drones and by proxies in Iraq and on the region.
I think I can speak to allies generally in the region who we've been in constant communication with. We have been standing shoulder to shoulder with them, and we appreciate their capabilities. Absolutely. Yes, right here.
Hi, thank you. Cameron Arkin with the Daily Wire. My question is about some of the domestic threats, if any, regarding this right now. Have there been any concerns about Iranian sleeper cells, and kind of what has the Trump administration been doing to kind of monitor?
Is anybody in your country, in your town, in your city, are you guys concerned about Iranian sleeper cells wherever you guys are living? Let me know in the chat.
Our agency, in full coordination, of course, we're paying attention to any potentialities there. This is a former regime, a regime that seeks to export that ideology and try to sow terror. We're ready for that. We've seen these types of folks before, and the American people can rest assured that we're vigilant on that.
All right, so let's jump over to some comments from the president himself. A lot of questions coming to the president during this time. Pete Hegseth, by the way, served in the Army National Guard, and he earned 2 Bronze Stars in the National Guard. So he definitely went and got down. So let's listen to President Trump.
So before we begin this important ceremony, and there's no ceremony that can be much more important than this, let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas.
From earlier,
the regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America.
Thank you, HD, for
the purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped. But everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat.
Thank you, Tracy, for the jewels.
To the Middle East, but also
Welcome,
to
everybody.
The American people. Our country itself would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen. For almost 47 years, this regime has been attacking the United States and killing Americans. Every time you see someone with missing arms and legs or a face that's been absolutely shattered violently, it was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, who was the father of the roadside bomb. Very proudly, he thought, but I terminated him in my first term. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. And they are indeed sick and sinister. Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out, and they came back, and we thought we had a deal, and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You got to do it the right way. Today, we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families.
Horrible.
In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, if the president wants to do it really quickly, after that he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think he'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through. We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot. But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We have a lot of great service members here with us, too, in this beautiful building. Isn't it beautiful?
Thank you.
We're adding on to the building a little.
This live stream has over 110,000 views right now, thanks to you. I really do appreciate it.
But we're improving the building. See that nice drape?
Over 2,000.
When that comes down right now, you see a very, very deep hole.
Thank you.
But in about 1.5 years from now, you're going to see a very, very beautiful building. And there's your entrance to it right there. In fact, it looks so nice, I think I'll save money on the doors, because it can't get more beautiful than that.
What?
I picked those drapes in my first term.
What is he talking about?
I always like gold.
That's wild.
But I think we can save a lot of money. I just saved curtains But, and it'll be spectacular. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom. I believe it because I built many a ballroom. I believe it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world. And when you hear all that hammering out there, you know why the First Lady is not thrilled exactly. She said, will the pile drivers ever stop? You know, they go from 6 in the morning till 11:30 in the evening. Can you imagine? Here? You know what? To me, that's a beautiful sound. She doesn't like it. I love it. You know what? To me, other than here, because we're donating it, not a penny to the taxpayer. It'll be under budget, ahead of schedule. It'll be 400 million or less. Most people say 400 million or more. No, it'll be less. But when I hear that sound, that beautiful sound behind me, it means money, so I like it. But my wife isn't thrilled. She said, this is getting crazy. I said, don't worry about it. We'll be all finished up in a few months. But now for the reason that we're gathered this morning to recognize the unsurpassed courage of 3 really incredible American heroes, 1 living and 2 no longer with us. So together, we recognize the exceptional valor of Master Sergeant Roderick Edmonds. And maybe I could ask your families to stand because they're beautiful families. I got to meet them. And please. So Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis and Command Sergeant Major Terry Richardson, as they receive our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor. And we're pleased to be joined by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. He's busy, very busy guy. In fact, I said, if you want, Pete, you can avoid it. General Raisin Kane also, and they said, we don't avoid this one. This is one you wouldn't avoid for anything, right? So we appreciate that you're here. Secretary of Veterans Affairs, who's doing an incredible job, Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins. Doug, thank you. You stand up, Doug. You're doing such a good job. 92% approval rating. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, who's known as Raisin Kane. I liked him when I heard that name, Raisin Kane. I said, if it's true, you're my guy. And it's true. It just turned out it's very true. He's a great guy and a great general. Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, and Army Chief of Staff, Randy George. Thank you. Thank you both, Dan. As well as Senators Tom Cotton and Bill Hagerty. You guys were great on television this weekend. I'll tell you what, can't have a better representative than both of you. Thank you very much. And Representatives Tim Burchett, Jack Bergman, and Nicole Malliotakis. And we have a few others sitting here, but I'm not going to go through it because we have far more important people to honor today. Oh, we have Tom Homan. I got to at least mention Tom Homan. I would be a stand-up, Tom. What a job. Zero people coming in. We had millions and millions of people pouring into our country now that, I mean, I'm not even sure I can believe this number is 0, but it is given out by Democrats. Or Democrats from the left, and they're rated for the last 9 months. We had 0 people come illegally through our border. Right, Tom? So I want to thank you very much.
Do this again since we have some new people in here. 1,500 in the building. I want to know, put a 1 in the chat if you support Trump. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not. I like to have people from both sides in here. It makes it spicy. We like that.
And I also want to salute 6 former Medal of Honor recipients: William Swenson, Jim McLuhan, Walter Marm, Thomas Paine, Sammy Davis. That's an interesting guy. Where is Sammy Davis? We have a big story here, Sammy. You've heard that all your life, I'll bet, huh? And Edward Byers. Stand up, please.
All right, so let's take you over to England, and we're going to show you, this is Leeds in England, and we're going to show you how the Persian folks in England are celebrating the death of Khamenei.
All right, see you in a bit.
I'm going to show you guys how to dance to this kind of music. So the way you dance to this kind of music, guys, is light bulb. Light bulb. Take your breath. Take your breath. Light bulb. Light bulb. Take your breath. Take your breath. Light bulb. Light bulb. Take the breath. Breath, okay? Those are some happy people. Some of the chat, this kind of maybe brings up a question of what would you consider a justifiable end state to this war? Would it be regime change, deterrence, a ceasefire, or something else entirely? So if you don't agree with the war, let me hear in the chat, what would you consider a justifiable end state? Over 1,000 people in the room. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 130,000 subscribers because of you guys, so I really do appreciate it. Let's jump over to some other breaking news about the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is a very important shipping area in the Middle East, and we are going to, it's right here. So let's take a look at this breaking news today.
From Iran is underway at this moment as they threaten the biggest waves yet attack on Israel and U.S. military bases. It also attacked shipping and threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, so very pivotal there, that energy artery there in the region. You can see this from G Captain saying the Strait of Hormuz is now a war
always
zone.
Sounds like he's underwater. I don't know. The Strait of Hormuz is now a war zone. Tankers hit. 3 U.S. troops killed. Shipping giants halt Gulf transits. Oh, boy. Gas prices. War risk insurance pulled. War risk insurance has been pulled. 20% of the global oil supply hangs in the balance. The first 36 hours of a conflict, as they say, reshaping global trade. So we're going to take a look over here at some of these drone attacks.
It's as strikes continue, U.S. forces eliminate imminent threats posed by the Iranian regime with new strikes targeting an airplane and a hangar containing drones. Also, CENTCOM has released a new video of several of those strikes that are still being conducted. Oof. So take a look at that. This is courtesy of CENTCOM over on their social media platform on X. It comes as the Associated Press says that Iran fired missiles at Israel and Arab states Monday, and the war expanded to include militias Tehran backs in the Middle East, with an attack by Hezbollah in Israel, which struck back against the group in Lebanon, and with the United States pounding targets in Iran. As the American and Israeli airstrikes kept hitting the country,
Whoa.
top Iranian security officials saying on X, quote, "We will not negotiate with the United States." President Trump, who a day earlier had encouraged Iranians to, quote, take over their government, signaled on Sunday that he was open to dialogue with Iran's new leadership. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister suggested earlier that military units were acting independently from any central government control after being pressed about attacks on Gulf Arab nations that have served as intermediaries for Tehran in the past. More than 200 people have been killed since the start of the strikes that killed Iran's Supreme Leader early on Saturday. Other senior leaders in Iran were also killed as well. Now, the Associated Press continues to provide some more of these updates. They're also saying this, that Israel is keeping all options on the table for a possible ground operation in Lebanon. That's according to Israel's military spokesperson. He said on Monday that Israel has
Let me ask you guys a question, Chad. Do you think this is going to get to a boots on the ground situation where actual infantry soldiers will be tasked to move into Iran and to make a move? What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know.
More than 100,000 reservists since the war with Iran began Saturday. Hezbollah launched missiles and drones toward Israel overnight, and Israel responded by striking dozens of targets in Beirut and southern Lebanon.
Wow.
And so this, again, is the video that you're seeing on your screen, recently posted by CENTCOM, the U.S. continuing those strikes there against Iran and several of those proxy organizations. Now, Israel's military also has launched an offensive campaign in Lebanon that could include many prolonged days of combat ahead. That's according to the military chief of staff and what he had to say early Monday morning. Hezbollah launched several rockets and drones toward Israel overnight, and Israel responded by striking dozens of targets in Beirut and southern Lebanon.
I used to live near a Zoroastrianism
53
church.
villages in southern Lebanon evacuate. That did cause massive traffic jams. So a lot to follow on this Monday here as this war continues to widen and expand. The tensions and the fighting escalating after those initial strikes early on Saturday. Want to bring us out to the live image that we do continue to have over in Tel Aviv in Israel. Take a look at this on your screen, and we are working to get some more images from several locations as demonstrations have also been seen in a lot of areas around the world, not just contained there to the Middle East. Also earlier today, we know that Germany has said that it will not actively participate in military action against Iran, but will consider defending its soldiers stationed on multinational military bases in Jordan and Iraq if they get attacked. The foreign minister of Germany went on to say that it was possible that, quote, our soldiers would defend themselves if they were attacked. So we're also following any of these statements from several world leaders. They are following this situation very closely, as are we here at Live Now from Vox.
Actually, yes. Let me switch over to another screen and I'll show you. All right, here we go.
We are getting word from Israel Channel 12, who are now reporting that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead.
Oh, wow.
That the
this is
Iranian
from earlier, obviously.
Supreme Leader has been killed in the airstrikes launched by the United States and Israel today. A determined effort by President Donald Trump to topple the Iranian regime. And if true, the reports coming to us now from Israeli Channel 12 that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead, then they have indeed toppled the very head of that regime.
Well, there we go. There was just the official word there. A lot of people have still said that that he's alive, that he's hidden. Put a 1 in the chat if you think, all right? Put a 1 in the chat if you think that Khomeini is dead. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he's alive. This is some new footage from Central Command. A video of some ordnance being launched. happening from there. We love that. See, that's the great thing about this chat is that we can have these differences of opinion. Fascinating. I love it. Fantastic.
All right, that's going to do it for that new video that just came down from CENTCOM. I do want to put up the tweet as well here so folks can see how this was released onto their X account. It says this: as the president stated, our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime. The president ordered bold action. CENTCOM forces are delivering an overwhelming and unrelenting blow. We just watched all of that video play out. We heard the sounds as they released it, showing those missiles being sent off into the air towards the Iranian regime there. What's your initial reaction? Is this how you expected this to unfold? And what more do these images and videos now tell us about this operation?
Well, this is pretty much what I expected and many other people expected. A lot depends on what happens after the video ends. For example, we see the F-18s taking off from one of the aircraft carriers, either Ford or Lincoln. They were brought in to protect our allies and partners, so I would not be surprised if they were flying above our allies to shoot down Iranian missiles.
And speaking of that, we have a story about the Israeli Air Force launching several new waves of strikes against Tehran, which used to be, by the way, the Paris of the Middle East. I mean, Tehran was the place to be in the Middle East back in the 70s, before 1979, before this 47 years of conflict, right? And so 10 years from now, let me ask you guys in the chat, 10 years from now, do you think we're going to look back on this week as the start of a new era in the Middle East? Or do you think this is going to be a catastrophic mistake that could have been avoided? So let me hear you guys. I want to hear your voices. And I want to see it in the chat. 10 years from now, do you think we're going to look back on this week as the start of a new era in the Middle East, or as a catastrophic mistake that could have been avoided? Let me know, guys.
Posting this just now, stating that the Israeli Air Force is now launching a new wave of strikes against Tehran. We had some video that we played out a short time ago of one of those strikes from earlier this morning. But as we continue to take a look at the developments of Operation Epic Fury, I mean, this is not going to let up. President Trump stating that this mission could last days, if not weeks, as we share this new information. Can you talk about, the goals of these military operations, and also on the flip side, Iran continuing to retaliate as well?
Well, I think that's right. I don't think this is going to go away very quickly. First of all, and as far as the strikes are concerned, it's a little unusual that the Israelis are doing strikes. It is roughly 5:30 p.m. In Israel or in Tehran. So it's a little unusual that these strikes would be done at this hour. More of them tend to be done overnight. But what it also tells you is that the Israelis and the Americans have air cover, that they have very little concern over Iranian missile defense systems. Surface-to-air missiles. So that's one thing that it tells you, but it also tells you that there's a lot of targets. Both the Americans and the Israelis went in to attack both key personnel, and they're trying to get to all of the rocket launchers, because as we've seen, the Iranians have shot missiles and have connected in Dubai, in the UAE, in Bahrain, in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia. Most of those have caused no damage and have been repelled, but in Dubai they have. And now overnight there was a big attack in Beit Shemesh in Israel, which is about 15 kilometers from Jerusalem. So these attacks are going to continue. This is not something that's going to be over any day. And we don't know yet the full fury of what the Iranian counter response will be.
And let's talk about the goals from the U.S. and Israel. You were talking about these are very targeted strikes. They're taking a look at weaponry. They're taking a look at some of the top leaders. The Supreme Leader was killed. 40 of the top leaders were also killed in the initial strike. When we take a look at where Iran stands right now in terms of mission accomplished for the United States and Israel, where do we stand with that?
We don't stand anywhere yet. We don't know. It is far too early. If we want regime change, then the protesters or people in Iran are going to need to take control of at least one or two major institutions of government. Most likely, the army or the IRGC,
Here, let me help you out.
Iranian
Let me help you out with
Revolutionary
that.
Guard.
There you go.
Those are really the hardcore people, so it's unlikely that it'll be the IRGC. But if you can get somebody from the army to come out and perhaps meet with the president, who was not one of the people that were killed, then you have a chance for a civil society afterwards, and perhaps, I know the Americans are talking about bringing the former Shah's son in. We are way too soon to be talking about regime change. We've killed the old guard, but the old guard is still there with the slightly younger guard.
And stick around, because in a couple minutes, I'm going to show you someone who explains the succession of the Ayatollah. So we're going to get that in just a couple minutes. Hit the like button and subscribe, guys. Thank you.
Right now, there's no regime change.
So, Jonathan, there's a long way to go when we're talking about a
thank
regime
you for the
change. As we
jewels.
take
Thank
a
you
look,
so
though,
much.
in just the
Welcome.
next few days or weeks, what are those immediate
Thank you,
next steps
Gracie.
in
There it
order
is, right
to
there.
get to regime change?
That's
well, I
Fang.
think you're going to see a lot of this stuff continuing. You're
Fang
going
is
to
the
see,
mascot
obviously, they
of the
need to
channel.
try to take out as many missile launchers, and from both the ballistic missile and the short-term missiles.
Say hi
We
to
have to be
Fang.
very
That's
careful
Fang
about
right
whether
there.
or not the Iranians will deploy a dirty bomb. That's a major concern. Out of the country, you also have to worry about whether or not
Who do I work for?
European
The Saudis.
Iranian sleeper
That's who I
cells will
work
be
for. I work for the
activated.
Saudis
I
and the
don't,
Rothschilds.
from my own discussions with people in the intelligence community, I don't know of any confirmation of sleeper cells in the United States, but I do know of confirmation of sleeper cells in Europe. So we have to be on the lookout for a variety of things. I think we're not ready to negotiate with any individual who might take over the government, and I think that the protesters are going to need to be out in force in Iran, because that also demonstrates to the rest of the world that the people in Iran would like to see regime change as well.
When you talk about the concerns of potentially deploying a dirty bomb, where might they deploy it? Within their own country?
Thank you, Michael.
No, most likely Israel. I mean, all they have to do is put nuclear. They don't have to detonate a nuclear weapon. They just have to send one over that might hit or even explode in the air, and then creates fallout all over.
I saw a story that Iran tried to send 52 missiles at one of the aircraft carriers, and they got every single one of them. Not one of them got through. Isn't that amazing? Not 5, not 10. The Iranian army sent 52 missiles at an American aircraft carrier, and they got every single one of those. Every single one. Thank you so much for the 1,000 jewels. Bino.
All of this has to do with the nuclear program and Iran refusing to meet the United States at the diplomacy table when we're talking about halting the enrichment of uranium. Can you talk about, the significance of this?
Sure. Well, the Americans were They did a good job in June in destroying, or at least bearing, a good deal of the Iranian nuclear weapons program. I'm not sure that it was obliterated. Most people don't really think that, and they had stuff that they had taken away, and they were trying to reconstitute it. I think the Iranians made a tremendous tactical mistake by not actually being forthcoming and trying to negotiate in bits and pieces. But honestly, I'm not sure that this wasn't the ultimate goal anyway. What we had been looking at during the negotiations with the Iranians on the nuclear weapons program looked remarkably close to what had been negotiated by Obama
Thank you, Gabriel,
in the
for the
JCPOA
jewels.
that,
Much
that
appreciated.
President
Thank
Trump
you.
walked away from in 2018. So I'm not sure that the ultimate goal was really a nuclear negotiation. I think this was probably closer to what the Trump ultimate goal was.
Jonathan, as we continue to look ahead, is there
Lee, the
any
answer is
particular
yes,
aspect of
actually.
all of this that you're
Always
keeping a
when I'm
very
on the
close
air.
eye
I
on?
appreciate you asking.
Yes, there are a couple of things. One is what happens outside of the region. As I said, sleeper cells in Europe or other things. Is there going to be larger escalation with the countries, in particular the countries that have U.S. bases, which would be the UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar? And of course, the Saudis. I mean, people sometimes forget the Persian Gulf is kind of like a U or a V, and you have the Iranian on one side, and you have the Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, and a little bit of Iraq on the other side. So missiles going across that Gulf are the Saudi oil fields, the UAE
Give
oil
it to us,
fields are all
Primo. What do
pretty
you say?
exposed. Now they're also heavily defended, but they're also pretty exposed. So if things get desperate, will the Iranians, in desperation, try to attack the oil fields of the Saudis and the UAE, Kuwait?
Well, I don't know if he's been watching, but they've already attacked one of the Saudi oil fields, and that's why I think the Saudis want to get involved. They don't want their oil. They cannot play around with that Saudi oil. All right, so let's go here. NATO has responded to this conflict. Let's hear the response from NATO. I mean, they're attacking hotels. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me show you guys the bunny ears, just in case everybody's wondering where it comes from. That is Fang. That is our mascot. We appreciate you. He's Dutch. Smoking a pancake. Thank you, Pettysburg. Great handle. The Pettysburg Address. By the way, this live stream just hit 200,000 views, guys. 200,000 views. Thank you so much. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We back, baby. Where's Mopey? Mopey. Are you a treasoner, Nova? We're going to start paying a little more attention to the chat right now, just as we're going. How long will it be till they open a McDonald's in Tehran? This is Beit Shemesh, Israel. It's just graphics, man. Just graphics. You obviously can't handle it in here, so we're going to do that. Thank you. Well, it's funny that you asked that, Tammy, because I do watch a lot of the overseas McDonald's things. There are McDonald's in Arabic countries. A lot of them just serve chicken and different types of that fare. All right.
What the US is doing, at least enabling it. That means access, it means logistics, it means defending a key US interest. And here the Brits needed to get a legal case done. They did so last night. Of course, everybody would have loved this to happen a couple of days earlier. But hey, the good news is here that there is no a shiver of light between us. The European.
So we're going to jump over. Something just came in here, and this is breaking just within the past few minutes. Secretary of State, and I know a lot of people regarding the Epstein files, the guy is Secretary of State, but Marco Rubio has made a comment here.
Drones, and it can inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about their nuclear program. That is what they were trying to do, is put themselves in a place of immunity where the damage they could inflict on the region would be so high that no one can do anything about their nuclear program or their nuclear ambitions. They are producing, by some estimates, over 100 of these missiles a month. Compare that to the 6 or 7 interceptors that can be built a month. They can build 100 of these a month, not to mention the thousands of one-way attack drones that they also have. They've been doing this for a very long time, and by the way, they've been doing it under sanction. You see the attacks they're conducting right now? They're attacking airports, they're attacking hotels, they're hitting not just military bases, they're attacking our embassies directly, they're attacking facilities that have nothing to do with war or with military, and that's a weakened Iran. That's in Iran despite years of sanction. Imagine a year from now, or a year and a half from now, the capabilities they would have to inflict damage on us. It's an unacceptable risk, especially in the hands of a regime that's run by radical clerics. The Ayatollah was a radical cleric. That entire regime is led by radical clerics who don't make geopolitical decisions. They make decisions on the basis of theology, their view of theology, which is an apocalyptic one. That has to be taken very seriously as well. So that was the purpose for what this operation is all about. That's what it's focused on. As the President said earlier today, it is on or ahead of schedule. I will defer to the Department of War to discuss the progress being made at a tactical level, but it was the right decision and an important decision for the safety and security of the world.
Take a question. There you go.
No.
And was there an imminent threat? Did you tell lawmakers that there was an imminent
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Had we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen, and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
Because of an impending Israeli action?
No,
two things I would say. Number one is, no matter what, ultimately this operation needed to happen. That's the question of why now. But this operation needed to happen because Iran in about a year or a year and a half would cross the line of immunity, meaning they would have so many short-range missiles, so many drones, that no one could do anything about it because they could hold the whole world hostage. Look at the damage they're doing now. And this is a weakened Iran. Imagine a year from now. So that had to happen. Obviously, we were aware of Israeli intentions and understood what that would mean for us, and we had to be prepared to act as a result of it. But this had to happen no matter what.
Secretary, President Trump said overnight that his top choices to now run Iran were killed in the strikes. Does the United States have a firm plan for how they intend to handle this power vacuum in Iran to ensure that an Irish hardliner does not take power?
So two things, and two things can be true. Number one is our mission and our focus is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and their ability to manufacture them, as well as the threat posed by their Navy to global shipping. That's our objective. That said, we would not mind, we would not be heartbroken, and we hope that the Iranian people can overthrow this government and establish a new future for that country. We would love for that to be possible. But the objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and of their naval capabilities.
Yeah. So are you saying, based on that, are you saying that there is no responsibility, no plan for the U.S. to at least play a role in whatever government comes next?
We might. We'll see how circumstances play out. But I'm telling you what the objectives of this operation are. The objectives of this operation are to destroy their ballistic missile capability and make sure they can't rebuild it, and make sure that they can't hide behind that to have a nuclear program. That's the objective of the mission. That said, abundantly clear, we would love for there to be an Iran that's not governed by radical Shia clerics, as I've said myself repeatedly for years. The leadership of that country does not reflect the people of Iran, and I think that's been pretty apparent in the protests that you've seen. If there's something we can do to help them down the road, we'd obviously be open to it, but that's not the objective. The objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities.
Regime change has not gone well for the United States.
The what now?
Regime change has not gone well for the United States for many, many decades. How do you assure the American public that things will not get worse for the next regime that comes in there and replaces the
we would love to see this regime be replaced. And ultimately, as the president has said, he calls... No, but let me finish my answer. As the president has said, he would love for the people of Iran to use this as an opportunity to rise up and remove these leaders. They've been wanting to remove them from a long time. We've seen successive waves of protests, and we've seen them slaughter people. Okay? But the objective of this mission is to make sure they don't have these weapons that can threaten us and our allies in the region. That's why we're doing what we're doing now. And while we would love to see a new regime, the bottom line is no matter who governs that country a year from now, they're not going to have these ballistic missiles and they're not going to have these drones to threaten us. That's the objective of this mission, is to deny them the ability to use ballistic missiles to threaten their neighbors, to threaten our bases, to threaten our presence in the region, and ultimately as a shield behind which they can do whatever they want with their nuclear weapons ambition. We were not going to let them hide behind that, and that's why this was such a critical mission to undertake now while they were at their weakest point, and not a year from now where they could inflict even more damage and perhaps already be behind that point of immunity. Go right here behind. Go ahead, you and then you. Yes.
Your critics in Congress have said that they should have a role, they should be able to weigh in here, and there are going to be war powers resolutions votes in Congress later this week. Why not notify Congress ahead of this, and does Congress...
Well, we did. We notified Congress. I mean, we notified the Gang of Eight. We notified congressional leadership. There's no law that requires us to do that. The law says we have to notify them 48 hours after beginning hostilities. We've done that. I think the notification went today. But we did notify members of Congress in advance. But we can't notify 535 members of Congress.
Vote to authorize the war.
Well, the Congress can vote on whatever they want, but there's no law that requires us to do that. And I want to say something, because I see people on TV. Look, that's fine. If they want to take a war powers vote, they can do that. They've done that.
So he mentioned something called the Gang of Eight, just to clarify what that is for everybody. The Gang of Eight is a term for, there are 8 leaders in the U.S. Congress who, according to the law, are briefed on classified intelligence matters for the executive branch from both parties.
Done that a bunch of times. But there's no, people keep saying that there's no law that requires the president to have done anything with regards to this. To begin with, no presidential administration has ever accepted the War Powers Act as constitutional. Not Republican presidents, not Democratic presidents. That said, we have followed the notification at 48 hours. We're here today. I've done more Gang of Eight briefings than I got in the 4 years that Biden was president and I was a member of the Gang of Eight.
So if you're wondering what the Gang of Eight is.
We've complied with the law 100%. And we're going to continue to comply with it. We've done the notification, and we officially to Congress, but we did notify members of Congress. We just can't notify 535 people. That's not possible. But we did the Gang of Eight twice. I briefed them last week, and then I called them the night before the operation.
Can you tell us what you know, Mr. Secretary, of the administration knows about a strike on a building in southern Iran? The Iranians are saying there's a school, reports of large numbers of civilians, including children.
Yeah, I've seen those reports. I don't have, I would refer you, not because I'm not trying to answer your question, but I don't want to get it wrong. The Department of War would be investigating that if that was our strike, and I would refer your question to them, and I'll make sure they're aware that you have that question. But we'd like to know. Well, clearly, the United States would not deliberately target a school. Our objectives are missiles, both the ability to manufacture them and the ability to launch them, and the one-way attract drones. That would be our focus, and that's what we would be focused on. We would have no interest and, frankly, no incentive to target
Over 2,000 people in the building. Thank you
the
so
Iranians
much. Hit the
are, on
like
the other
button,
hand,
guys.
targeting civilian infrastructure. You guys have seen it. I'm sure you've seen it. They're hitting hotels. They're hitting embassies. They're hitting airports. They're hitting oil infrastructure. Well, it'd be very tragic, but I can't speak to the details behind it because I just don't have it. It would be a tragic outcome if it's happened. I don't have the details as to what led to it. But what is clear is that the United States would not deliberately target a school. They are, on the other hand, deliberately targeting civilians, as you've seen, because you know why?
Thank you.
They are a terroristic regime. They sponsor terrorism and they participate in terrorism.
What's your message to Americans who are
Stay hydrated, guys.
given the spiking of oil prices today?
Yes, and we knew that going in would be a factor, and so we have a program in place that will begin to be implemented by Secretary Wright, Secretary Bessent. We talked about it last night, again, about this program. We talked this morning, and starting tomorrow, you will see us rolling out those phases to try to mitigate against that. Obviously, markets are going to be reacting to news about what's happening. And again, a reminder, think about it, okay? This terroristic regime, led by radical clerics, has the ability, potentially, to shut off 20% of global energy. That's the kind of leverage they have because of their Navy. We're going to destroy their Navy. But there is a plan in place. We anticipated this could be an issue, and Secretary Wright and Bessent will begin to roll out those steps starting tomorrow to mitigate against the impact that could have. I got to do this briefing, so I got a couple more. Yeah.
Do you anticipate putting boots on the ground, and how long do you anticipate the conflict to last?
Well, we don't. Let me say two things about it. Number one, the president always has the options to undertake whatever operations he decides to do as the commander-in-chief. That said, we believe the objective that we have set for this mission, which is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities, both launch capability and manufacturing, can be achieved without ground forces. Right now, we're not postured for ground forces, but obviously the president has those options. He's never going to rule out anything. But right now, our focus is on the destruction of their ballistic missile launchers, their ballistic...
I think it's just a matter of time before ground forces are set in there. I believe that some of them are there. I believe that Delta has been in there, and some of the DevGru higher special forces groups, no doubt.
Missile stockpiles and their ballistic missile manufacturing capability, as well as their one-way attract drones and their Navy, because of the threat it poses to global shipping.
How long do you expect
All right, I can only do one more. Right there in the middle. Yes, sir.
Is there a diplomatic exchange going on right now between U.S. and Iran? Any exchanges whatsoever outside of...
No, not at this time. I mean, look, we always have people that reach out from inside of governments. You don't know if they're authorized to reach out or not. They're suffering a tremendous amount of damage. Honestly, again, I'm not going to give away the details of our tactical efforts, but the hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military.
Oh, so that's what they say. The hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. I want to jump over here for a minute because someone just mentioned some UK bases being affected. We are going to get to two more stories in just a second that I think are very important about how the succession of the Ayatollah is going to be handled. And we have Israel's hit list. So stay tuned.
Explosions have been reported at the Royal Air Force Base, Raf Akrotiri. Now, this is one of the two British bases in Cyprus, along with Dhekelia. Moments before the explosions, there were reports that personnel at the bases had been instructed to return to their homes and stay inside until further notice. Well, they were also told to move away from windows and take cover behind or beneath substantial solid furniture.
So as you can see there, the Royal Air Force Akrotiri base in Cyprus. All right, we've got some explosions going there. Iran is really just pushing it.
UK's Ministry of Defence has confirmed to local media houses that it is responding to a suspected Iranian drone strike. Earlier, UK's Defence Secretary said that Iran's retaliatory attacks included two ballistic missiles fired in the direction of Cyprus. In an exclusive with BBC, John Healy said that the missiles were not targeting the Mediterranean island, but acknowledged that it demonstrated that the country's bases, personnel, military and civilians at the moment are at risk. He informed that the UK warplanes were involved in defensive actions in the region. operating from the UK's air bases on the island and from a base in Qatar, without providing further details about the missiles and any interception of them. Cyprus president said he had spoken to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and he had said that Cyprus was not a target. This after UK joined the blitz against Iran, with Starmer giving the US permission to use British bases for defensive strikes. He said British bases could be used to intercept Iranian missiles or destroy missile launchers. However, the British PM clarified that the UK was not involved in the initial US and Israel strikes on Iran.
I've taken the decision to accept this request to prevent Iran firing missiles.
Where are my Brits in here? Where are my Brits? All right. What do you guys think of this fella right here, Keir Starmer? Do you remember a guy named Jimmy Savile? Well, this fella right here, his group that were a group of prosecutors in Britain were supposed to prosecute Jimmy Savile, considered to be one of the most prolific predators in history. And basically, this guy didn't charge him.
Across the region, killing innocent civilians, putting British lives at risk, and hitting countries that have not been involved.
Put a 1 in the chat if you know who Jimmy Savile is. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not.
The basis of our decision is the collective self-defense of long-standing friends and allies and protecting British lives.
Keir Starmer is no Dave Chappelle either. So we're going to take a look at something here that's pretty interesting. We have, this is Israel's hit list. And you could see some of the primary targets for Israel. Ali Shamkhani, Defense Council Chief, Iran, killed. Mohammed Pakpour, the chief of the IRGC, killed. All right. We have Aziz, and the IRGC is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So if you don't know what it stands for Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. That is the IRGC. Aziz Nasir Zadeh, Defense Minister, Iran, killed. Mohammed Shirazi, Military Bureau Head, Iran, killed. Right over here we have Recha Matferi Nia, the former chair. SPAN. See, now we got a new acronym that we got to look up now. All right. So we will figure that out. Hussein Jabel Amalayan, killed. Salah Asadi, senior intelligence officer, Iran, killed. And obviously Ayatollah Khamenei, who I'm going to show you just in a minute how they work that chain of succession so you could see who is going to be next. Okay.
The United States has released visuals of the first 24 hours of Operation Epic Fury. The visuals have been shared by the U.S. Central Command in a post on X. The video shows U.S. fighter jets taking off from an aircraft carrier and missiles being fired at targets across Iran.
Wow. Woo. Woo. You can hear some of the have their music and their Centcom sharing some of these strikes that have been declassified. Oh boy. Look at that. These are devastating.
The Israeli Air Force has shared videos of the attack on Iran. According to the Israeli Air Force, over 1,200 munitions were dropped by Israeli jets on targets in Iran. Take a look.
Stinger, Tomahawk. So now what we have in the wake of the Khamenei assassination, if you want to call it that, targeting, whatever you want to call it, he dead. All right. Now, this lady right here is going to explain to us how the chain of succession works and who is going to be next to take over the responsibilities. And what are they? Just everybody who comes in, they just call him the Ayatollah Khamenei. That's it. If you're Bill or Bob or Freddie, if you come into this job, you're the Ayatollah. That's it.
In Iran, real power doesn't sit with the president. It's held by the Supreme Leader. He's the country's top political and religious authority, believed by his followers to be divinely ordained. The role was created after the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Based on the doctrine, a senior cleric should oversee the state to ensure it follows Islamic law. That principle is written into Iran's constitution, giving one-man authority over all elected institutions. The Supreme Leader is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. He appoints top military commanders and has direct influence over the Revolutionary Guard. He can declare war or peace and has final authority over national security and nuclear policy. Politically, he appoints the head of the judiciary, half of the powerful Guardian Council, and important oversight bodies. He can approve or dismiss the president and signs off on major state policies. He's also the highest religious authority within the system. The Supreme Leader is not chosen by public vote. Instead, he's selected by the Assembly of Experts, an 88-member clerical body elected by voters, but whose candidates are vetted by
That's kind of scary looking.
the system. The Assembly reviews potential successors and appoints one leader or a leadership council. If the Supreme Leader dies, resigns, or is incapacitated, a temporary council, usually
kind of like in the Three Musketeers, Cardinal Richelieu, right? He is very much like that character. He's just and very much like the Pope. Yes, religious leaders that have a lot of influence and control over their country's government.
including the president, the judiciary chief, and a senior cleric, oversees the country until a
I
successor
am Saudi AI. You are absolutely right. I work for the Saudis. Thank you.
is chosen. Iran has experienced only one such transition since
You get free gas for life.
1979. Because so much authority is concentrated in a single office, succession is one of the most sensitive moments in the Islamic Republic, with implications not just for Iran, but for the wider region.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al
Wow.
Jazeera.
So let's have a look here about some U.S. fighters. Da-da-dee.
Crashed in Kuwait. That's what the Iranian media is claiming. Iranian media has put out a video that shows a U.S. jet crashing over the skies in Kuwait. And this is a claim made by the Iranian media. It's on your screen right now. If you can zoom in a bit, it appears to be falling straight from the skies. This is over the Kuwait airspace is where this hit is believed to have taken place. It's a U.S. fighter jet that was reportedly brought down
the pilot ejecting, as you can see right there. That's got to be scarier than hell.
Skies of Kuwait, and you can see the plane just falling from the skies. That's a breaking news update coming in. Just queuing up the video, sir. I don't know whether you can see this video clearly, but it appears to have been intercepted. This is the fighter pilot. There's also a picture of the fighter pilot being, he's being
That was friendly fire. Can you believe that?
evacuated from there. He can be seen. The fighter pilot is seen there in this video after that plane crashed.
The
With
aerodynamics of the plane would put it into a flat spin, not necessarily a dive.
his parachute, and the fighter jet has been destroyed, and you can see him there in Kuwait getting some help. There's a man shooting a video, so he's being cautious there. But that's the video of the jet falling from the skies.
Wow.
So this is perhaps the first video we have seen of a fighter jet being brought down from the skies, sir.
You can see there very compelling footage showing friendly fire. No official statement from the U.S. Air Force. I guess not. I don't think you're supposed to shoot down your own, but thankfully the pilot survived. I'm hoping, did the pilot survive from the other two crashes? I have not heard that yet. I think I heard about one more. I heard of a female pilot being okay. So if all three of them are all right, that's okay by me. Wow, what a story they have. So now with the war with Iran and this death of Ayatollah Khamenei, at the same time are not just separate headlines, they're two shocks, and they're hitting the same fragile system at once. So whether this moment leads to a wider regional firestorm or a brutal but contained conflict will depend on decisions being made right now in war rooms in Tehran, in Jerusalem, in Washington, D.C. Decisions we don't see until the missiles launch, right? Statements drop and maps change. The only certainty is there's only one thing for certain here. See that? Get close up. There you go. I'm not scared of a close up. The only certainty is that millions of ordinary people who never wanted this war will live with the consequences. And that's the problem with war for me, is the innocent people, right? So hopefully a lot of them have gotten to a safer place. Please hit the like button and subscribe. Now I'm going to be watching every major development, new strikes, confirmed retaliation, succession moves inside Iran, and at any hint of any real diplomatic content or contact. Okay, so I'll come back live the second the trajectory shifts. If you want to stay ahead of this story, instead of waking up to whatever it turns into, make sure you're subscribed. I bring you the whole story from tip to tail. Turn on all your notifications, hit the like so this stream gets pushed while we're off air. This stream has over 250,000 views, over 250,000 views on this stream. So I really appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you subscribe, turn on the notifications, and hit the like so this stream keeps getting pushed. Now, drop your final thoughts. I want to see comments from everybody. We need to see more comments from you guys so I know where to guide the show and I can hear your opinions, because you guys are the ones that make this show happen. I'm just the guy who shows it to you. Now, something to think about for the comments: is this war with Iran barreling toward a regional catastrophe, or do you still see a realistic way for leaders to pull back from the edge? All right. I want to thank everybody for watching. Stay informed, stay calm. And remember, behind every strike and headline are real lives on every side, hoping and praying that this does not become a point of no return. Thank you so much, mods. Thank you so much for the gifts, for the memberships, for the super chats. I do appreciate you. Thank you for watching the Zero Dark Tony channel. I am Tony D, your host. Remember, the truth is a moving target. And guys, have a great day. Take care of yourself. All right? Really, sincerely. Leave a comment below. Truth is a moving target. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you.